how to tighten and flatten your stomach with just one move. And we're not talking about sit-ups. Everyone knows this as a fact. You must absolutely make sure that the calories you're putting in your body do not exceed what you're expending or using. And that way, if we create a deficit, then this is naturally going to ride right into a loss of weight. Let's just take a look at this.
And that's fundamentally how you lose body fat, by creating a calorie deficit.
The only true requirement is that you maintain a calorie deficit.
This puts you in an overall calorie deficit.
If you're having a hard time reaching a caloric deficit,
but how to stay in a calorie deficit.
Every time I would ask an older individual who was overweight that wanted to lose weight, when did your stubborn metabolism start? It was usually in their late 20s or early 30s after a series of calorie restrictive diets. And it is a theory, it's not a fact. I mean, we've tried this for decades and it just has not worked. Here's the missing piece of the puzzle that you really need to understand. Our bodies are not as simple as a car where you have inputs and outputs. We have what's called the endocrine system. And this system causes our body to adapt within its environment. And so what the body's going to do when you lower your calories is it's going to adjust. It's going to become more efficient, which you may feel that it's a bit slow. It can run further on the same amount of fuel as before. The other problem with lowering your calories is that now we increase the battle of hunger, cravings, and now it's going to be even harder because you're going to have to increase your willpower to stick to it. So is this whole calorie deficit model sustainable? No, it's not. I want to bring up one book right here. It's called Guyton's Physiology, and I want to show you two quotes out of the book. Page 927, right here. Let's take a look at this. All aspects of fat metabolism are greatly enhanced in the absence of insulin. Then we have page 822. It says right here, when carbohydrates are not utilized for energy, almost all of the energy of the body must come from the metabolism of fats. I really think people who are stuck in this outdated model of calorie deficit just don't understand insulin. And unfortunately, you know, when you're taking classes, whether you're studying Guyton's Physiology, maybe in school, they're not going to really emphasize that point. To really understand this, you're going to have to really dive into it and study it after you graduate because it's not really taught. Insulin is the hormone that controls whether you burn fat or not. If you reduce insulin, your body can then tap into your own fat for energy. And the thing that triggers insulin is carbohydrates. If we look at the three parts of food, we have carbohydrates, protein, and fat. It's the carbohydrates that stimulate insulin the most. Fat actually is neutral. Protein has a moderate effect on insulin, but it doesn't even compare to carbohydrates. This right there tells us you cannot treat all three of these equally. All calories are not the same. It is important to talk about the quality or the type of calorie we're talking about. And if we really want to lose weight, we must lower insulin. To do that, we must lower our carbohydrate calorie. What's interesting about lowering our carbohydrate calorie and lowering insulin, our body needs to get fuel. Where is it going to get the fuel? When you are eating, you're getting your energy from your food. When you're not eating, where are you getting your energy from? Are you getting it from fat? If you're living on a higher carbohydrate diet, it's very unlikely you're going to be able to tap into much fat. If you can lower your carbs, your body can then finally tap into your own fat. Let's say, for example, you're living on 1,500 calories with the low carb diet. You're also, in addition to those 1,500 calories, using a good amount of fat calories. It could be, I don't know, 500 or more, maybe 700, 800 additional calories that we can put in the pool for energy. Part of it's diet, part of it's your own fat. And so guess what's so cool about that? Your hunger goes away. You're no longer craving carbs between meals. Why? Your body is eating your own fat between the meal. If you don't lower insulin, your body's not going to eat your own fat. But if you do lower insulin with a low carb, then the body will eat your own fat as fuel. We can make it easy on yourself, not have any cravings or hunger while you're doing your weight loss program, or you can cut your calories. And the cool thing about the ketogenic diet, which is the low carb diet, is that a lot of the energy that your body's running off of is not from the diet. It's from your own body fat. And I think one argument that some people bring up is, yes, doing low carb, it's going to help you. But then also when you do fasting, you're naturally lowering your calories. And some people will say the reason why the ketogenic diet helps you lose weight is you're eating less calories because it's all about calories. If that's true, then how do you explain that when you go on a ketogenic diet and you do intermittent fasting, and yes, you might be eating less calories, you don't crave anything? If we compare that to you just cutting your calories and not your carbohydrates, you're going to be craving all day long. If your body is getting enough fuel, there's no reason to slow down the metabolism because your body's getting all the energy it needs. This is the purpose of fat, to be able to survive between meals. You want to think about your fat as a biological pantry that you're tapping into, so you don't have to tap into your actual pantry. This does work, and I have 8,000 people to prove it. Check this out on my website. The other little point on this is that fat provides more than double the energy than glucose provides. It's very important to tap into fat, to use that as a nice sustainable amount of energy for your body. The key to this whole thing is turning insulin way down. I am almost to the exercise I'm going to show you to tighten and tone the midsection, but I wanted just to kind of mention just one thing. It takes about 2 to 3 days to get into the state of ketosis, so it's not that long. But it does take 2 to 3 weeks to fully get into hardcore fat adaptation. And I want to explain the difference. Fat adaptation is when your body is burning the most fat possible. And your body can burn ketones, but it can also burn fat. That's actually 2 different sources of fuel. If we look at carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, carbohydrates should be about 5% of the diet. The protein should be about 20%, and the rest should be the fat. Inside your abdomen, you may have what's called visceral fat, and that is going to come off with the diet that I just mentioned. You also have the superficial layer of fat, which is also like a spillover from the other fat that is being backed up into the organs. Deeper in there, you have a layer of fascia. This fascia is like a gel-like connective tissue, and it can atrophy if you don't use it. And that atrophy can look like a flabby stomach. What I'm going to show you is one of the best exercises that is not a sit-up, that is going to tone and tighten this area around your abdomen to get rid of that flabby stomach and almost act like a girdle that's keeping everything nice and tight and toned. All we're going to do is this one exercise called, it's a funny name, the dead bug. And it's called a dead bug because it looks like a dead bug upside down, trying to flip over. And I'm going to recommend you do this alternating your leg and your arm when you reach back. You see, this will give the optimum tension in the middle section to stimulate the fascia and the muscles to get really nice and toned. Versus if you did sit-ups or crunches, the problem with that is you're going to activate the deeper muscles called the psoas, which are the hip flexors, and that is going to eventually cause your back to be out of balance. So here's how you do it right here.
Today's exercise tutorial is the dead bug. Dead bugs are great for helping to control front to back pelvic tilting, and it's also a good abdominal exercise that improves coordination, and it generally makes you long and straight. One of the secondary functions is to help you control rotation in the hips. So to get started, you're going to lay down on your back. We lay down on our back with our knees over our hips. Our hips, knees, and ankles are bent at 90-degree angles. Our lower back is flat on the ground so that I cannot slide my hand underneath my back. All right, so it's by controlling this pelvic tilting, we control the arch in our lower back. Use your abdominals. Your arms are straight up, pointing at the ceiling. From this position, fully extend your left leg. Your toes remain pointing at the ceiling. Your lower back remains in contact with the ground. Reset to the starting position, and then you can switch sides or finish your set on the same side. To vary this exercise, we can move our arms and legs at the same time. We can go same side, or we can go opposite side. Again, the key is to keep your lower back in contact with the ground and to only move those limbs and those parts of our body that we want to move. The lower back stays in contact with the ground.
Do this exercise every single day, and within 1 or 2 weeks, you're going to start to see some amazing results. If you want details on how to do the diet, I put that video up right here. Check it out.